The number one reason leading seasoned and especially beginners to give up and quit on eBay is all around sourcing and acquiring your items. The number one problem with the average reseller is acquiring too many items too fast that don't sell quickly enough. It's just human nature, especially when we first begin things or we want to scale things. We want things to go as soon as possible. We want to start making $10,000 yesterday and we want to start making $100,000 today. And we want to get to $1,000,000 as fast as humanly possible. And as you can see from the landscape of every industry, not very many people make $1,000,000 doing anything. It's very possible, and it is very possible to make $1,000,000 reselling over a lifetime. I think it's very possible to do in a year, but it's very difficult. But you're never going to get there if you buy too many items too quickly that don't have a sell-through rate. I talk about this on my channel a lot, the military phrase, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. We want to go fast, but in order to go fast, we must go slow. So I want to talk about sell-through rate. First off, sell-through rate, for those of you that don't know what it is how quickly an item sells and how often it sells. Here in YouTube land, we talk about a 90-day sell-through rate. The average business runs all of their numbers and calculations off of a 1-year sell-through rate. But because of the way the eBay app is set up, we judge everything off of a 90-day sell-through rate because that's the data that it gives us when we're searching for items. So when you're in a thrift store and you find an item, for example, let's say you're in a thrift store and you find this Canon camera. Canon cameras are awesome sellers on eBay. They do very well. What you're going to do is you're going to type into eBay Canon PowerShot A610. That's the model number of this camera. You're going to type that into the search bar of eBay. You're going to immediately see a bunch of results. Probably, I'd imagine, around 150, we'll say. So there's 150 results, we'll say. Then you go to Filter, scroll down, and select Sold. Now they're going to show you how many of these cameras, the PowerShot A610, have sold in the last 90 days. Now let's just say for this example, it's 150. There's a few different definitions of sell-through rate here on YouTube. A lot of people get into fights over it for some reason. But if you want to use my definition of sell-through rate, 90-day sell-through rate, you can. If you want to use a different one, that's fine too. But if something is listed 150 and there's 150 sales in the last 90 days, that is a 100% sell-through rate. If there are 100 listed and 1,000 have sold, that's a 1,000% sell-through rate. If there's 100 listed and only 50 sold, that's a 50% sell-through rate in 90 days. So if 90 have sold in the last 90 days, that means one is selling every day. And if there is 17,000 listed and only 90 have sold, that means one is selling every day. And if only one is selling every day and there's 17,000 listed, you're probably never going to sell your item on eBay. So what people do, especially in the beginning, is they're really excited. Maybe they saw Gary Vee talking about coffee mugs. Maybe they saw their favorite reseller talking about Travis Matthew shirts or talking about cameras or anything. And they're like, okay, sweet, I'm going to buy every single camera I see, every single Travis Matthew shirt I see, and every single coffee mug I see. And then they end up getting 100 items, but they don't check the sell-through rate. Or they check the sell-through rate, but they look at it emotionally instead of logically, and so they buy things that don't sell quick enough. A clear example of this is when I first started selling remote controls. I bought my first Logitech Harmony 600 that I sold for $600, and I'm like, what have I been missing out on? So I immediately started buying a ton and a ton of remote controls for various devices. And this was 6 months into my reselling career, so I already knew about sell-through rate. I already knew how to look things up in the store and all of that good stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll look things up, I'll stay disciplined, and I would find a remote control, for example, that had like 84, 86 listings and 14 sales in 90 days, which is a pretty bad sell-through rate. But I would convince myself, well, there's been 14 sales, like that's not nothing, it's something. So I would go ahead and I would buy these remotes that ended up having like a 15 or 20% sell-through rate. And then when you actually sit down and do the math, you're like, wait, that means if everything goes according to plan and is completely average, which the law of averages is a huge factor in this business, that's going to take a year and a half to sell. And I don't want things to take a year and a half to sell. What I recommend is buying things that have a 100-day sell-through rate or quicker. That means if you see something that has 100 listed and it has 85, 95 or above sold, that's kind of the range you want to be in. Yes, in my own shop, I have some items that have a significantly slower sell-through rate, but those are also jumbled in with my extremely fast selling items. I have a lot of items that sell within a day, which if you guys are interested in knowing some of that knowledge, I'll drop that here real quick. Apple AirPods, iPods, Dyson vacuum parts. There's a ton of things that sell ultra quick in a day or 5 days or so. Then I have a ton of items that sell within 2 weeks or 2 months or things like that. And then I'm always trying to shoot for things that have more items sold than are listed. That's what I look for as a baseline. And then I'm okay to pick up things that only have a 50% sell-through rate, 60, 70% sell-through rate. But I want those items to be as little as possible. And I want the faster sell-through rate items to be as much as possible. Now, the reason why you want very fast sell-through rate items is because, first of all, it's a mental, emotional advantage for you. When you get a store that has 200 items and they're all slow sell-through rate, 30% sell-through rate or slower, which a ton of eBay sellers have that slow sell-through rate, whether it's postcards or t-shirts or hats, a lot of popular categories that have slow sell-through rates. Don't get me wrong, there are blazing fast t-shirt sales and hat sales and postcard sales, but you have to look up individual styles, individual model numbers, individual brands, and all that stuff to get those faster sell-through rate items. So a lot of people have these stores and they have their first 200 items and they have 0 sales per day. Every once in a while they'll get 1. And then they build their store up to 1,000 and now they're only getting 1 or 2 sales per day with 1,000 stores, and that's very difficult. The second reason is because you run into cash flow issues. If your average cost of goods is, we'll say $7, and you are listing 10 a day, you're listing $70 worth of items, you're buying $70 worth of items every single day, and you're only selling 1 or 2 a day with an average sales price of $13 to even $40. At the $40 range, you're making $7 a day, but that's nothing really to write home about. So you're running into these cash flow problems because you are buying way too much and you're not selling enough to actually make money in this business. So I would recommend doing research in the thrift store and at home during your free time. I have videos on this channel explaining how to do both. Do your research well and do it as often as you can. And it's okay to only walk away with 1 item or 3 items or 7 items, whatever it may be. It's better to have 2 or 3 quality items than it is to have 20 just above garbage items. Another issue that people have, especially beginners, is even if they buy really good quality items, they just buy too many items and then they develop what's called a death pile. A death pile is where you have a pile, doesn't have to be necessarily a pile, but just a box or a bin or a garage or a closet or a literal pile of things that you bought to list, but you haven't listed yet. Now, every morning I go out and I try to buy 20 items a day. In my area, sometimes I'm only able to get 7 or 13, but I try to get about 20 very high quality items that have around 100-day sell-through rate. But a lot of people will go out and they will buy hundreds of items and only list 2 to 7 a day, but still go out and buy every day or every weekend during garage sale season, and they just accumulate this huge pile. Terrible for cash flow. And yeah, you're going to run into a lot of problems. So one of the major issues, especially beginners and even a lot of longtime sellers have, is they just keep buying and buying and buying and buying, but they don't list, and this is detrimental, absolutely detrimental to your business. Now, the next problem that people run into that put them out of business is listing too many items, kind of opposite from the last one of having too many items but not listing enough. I preach that you should list the same amount of items every day, every single day. While that is very important, you can't take it too literally and just put up trash items. In a perfect world, you could find 20 100-day sell-through item, average sell-through rate items and list 20 a day and sell 20 a day. Especially during the beginning when you don't have a ton of knowledge and you have limited resources, it's very difficult to find 20 good sell-through rate items that meet that metric. So you start with 3 or 5 or 7. I would recommend starting with as little as possible and ramping your way up slowly and smoothly, right? So what happens is a lot of times we start to list too many. We're listing 5 a day every single day, and we're getting 1 or 2 sales every single day, and it's awesome. And then we jump up to 10 immediately. But if we're not, like I mentioned in the beginning, if we're not buying fast sell-through rate items, when we're listing 10 per day, we're getting an extra 1 or 2 sales per day almost right off the bat, and then it continues to climb a bit over time because we are picking up those really fast sell-through rate items, but we're also picking up those very slow sell-through rate items. And so if we just keep listing 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 of not so great items, now our store is getting to the place where we have 2,000 items, but we're only selling 4. Or we have 3,000 items, but we're only selling 2 or 3. Definitely not a place that we want to be in. So I do recommend listing the same amount of items every single day. But that isn't a perfect world. If you asked me, is it better to list 10 okay items 7 days a week or list 18 really good items sporadically throughout the week? I would say 18 sporadically throughout the week. I would try to get as many as I could, but if you go to your thrift stores, or if this is just a side hustle for you and you can only go thrifting or yard selling at a certain time, and you can only find 4 or 5 items a day, but you want to list 15, just get the 4 or 5 items and list those. Don't start picking up extra items just to hit that 10 item listing goal or that 15 item listing goal or that 20 item listing goal, because eventually your better items are going to sell off and you're just going to be left with this mess of items that have a 300-day sell-through rate, which is still okay, I guess, but you definitely want items that sell quickly. So don't fall into the good trap of listing consistently every single day if it makes you pick up items that don't have a fast sell-through rate and list them just to hit your goal. This is a hard mental one for me because I love ultra consistency. I love crushing goals. I love working hard. And I have many times bought too slow of a sell-through rate item just to hit my goal, and it hurts my business over time. So you definitely, if you can just keep finding the items that have the faster sell-through rate and leaving the slower ones behind, I promise you're not going to have a cash flow issue. You're not going to run into these mental issues of having 3,000 items and only selling 2. You're going to have the stress of, I can't find enough items to hit my goal. I'm selling too many items and I'm not growing. That is a good problem to have. All right, let's do some real world examples. We're going to pretend that my garage, which is my inventory, is a thrift store. So we're going to come over here, we're going through the thrift store, we go to the remote section and we find this Roomba remote. We're obviously going to put this in our cart, right? Because Roomba are those like self-driving vacuums that sell really well. The average Roomba vacuum is going to have way over a 100% sell-through rate. So that's a bolo. I'm going to grab those every time. Look them up just to be sure. But yeah, Roombas are great. So you'd think the Roomba remote is awesome, so you throw it in your cart, but then you want to actually look it up. When you type in Roomba remote into eBay, there's going to be over 380 active listings. When you filter to sold, There's only 82. Now, I emotionally convinced myself, oh, well, 82 have sold. That's just under one per day. Why can't I sell mine? But now I'm competing for one sell against 380 other items, and it has a very slow sell-through rate. So I would put this back and I would not get it for my shop anymore. Again, I got this remote a long time ago, obviously, because it's been sitting in my garage forever because it has a slow sell-through rate. Now we're in the thrift store and we come across this massager, okay? Not sure how great of an angle that is, but that is the MediRub 2000. I think it's the MR-3F. I've sold dozens of these. When you look this up, you're going to see that about 80 of them are currently listed, but 130 have sold. Awesome sell-through rate. It's gonna sell faster than 90 days. It's gonna sell faster than 100 days, which is the metric for my business. So I'm definitely going to pick this up. Then in your thrift store, you come over and you find some cameras and you see that this Sony CyberShot has an extremely fast sell-through rate, and you also look up this specific model and you see that this has an even faster sell-through rate. So you buy this. Then you think to yourself, all cameras are worth it. But then you come over here and you realize, oh, Vivitar cameras, I'm going to grab this because it's a camera and it's only $3. Then you take it home, right before listening to it, you look it up and you see, oh crap. There are 22 of these listed and only 2 have sold. So it has a 10% sell-through rate. So it's going to take 10 quarters or 2.5 years to actually sell. So you can't be emotional about your purchases. You actually got to do diligence, look everything up, look every single model number up, and make sure that you're buying fast sell-through rate items, or they're just going to sit in your shop forever. Last thing I want to say is I'm talking to the average eBay reseller. There are plenty of guys and gals on here that have 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, 100,000, 500,000 item shops that have a 1.5 year sell-through rate sometimes. A lot of people have the business model of getting items that have a slow sell-through rate but are hard to acquire, and they're just waiting for the right buyer to come around. And a lot of those businesses do incredibly well. If you are running that business already, I'm not hating on that. I think that's a really good business that works for you, but I'm just talking to the average reseller, typically the ones that are just beginning or the ones that are thinking about quitting because they've backed themselves into this wall of having too slow of a sell-through rate store. You can make an awesome living having 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 items in your shop and only selling 40 to 200 per day. But it's not the best strategy for the average person just getting started on eBay, especially the ones that are about to throw in the towel and call it quits. If you fall into any of those two camps, now is the time to buy fast sell-through rate items. Stop buying a ton of slow sell-through rate items, and even pay up if you need to for the fast sell-through rate items so you can keep cash flow, keep money coming in. Improve your sell-through rate and you will improve your happiness on eBay, I guarantee it. I promise that you guys will feel better about your job or your side hustle or your career, whatever this is for you. The faster the sell-through rate, the lower your blood pressure and the bigger your bank account. Focus on fast sell-through rate. I promise it'll be better for you.